Hi everyone and welcome to your daily tarot guidance. Today's cards are all reversed and this represents that one way or another all of us are a little bit lost, all of us are a little bit confused in more than one ways, and this is causing us a feeling of total stagnation, standstill, like we're actually trapped in our lives more than ever, because it may be absolutely true that we have faced worse personal situations in our lives, bigger moments of crisis, but still something that we just cannot put our fingers at is making this much heavier, much more confusing, much more misaligned, and this is where we just don't know what to do anymore, and the inner world and just, staying safe inside ourselves is not a valid option. It doesn't make us feel that much better because somehow this main theme of confusion, of helplessness, of not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel is perfectly valid or real on the outside, but this is where it's the same thing on the inside, just that from a totally different perspective, so to speak. So, what is on the outside is pretty obvious, but what is on the inside is a bit different for different people. But even if we try to stay inside our cocoons, well, in this moment in time, there is so much there that we need to face. So basically, it is not peaceful, it is not serene, it is not all that quiet, because it just forces us to face many different things. May they source from the past, may they source from the present, or for some people, they just have absolutely no idea where it sources from, just that it's there and it needs to be processed, it needs to be figured out one way or another. And one of the main reasons, at least in my personal opinion and in my vision, is the astrological dance of Mars meeting Neptune in the sign of Pisces. And this energy is gonna get more intense in the next couple of days, being exact on the 13th. So basically, this triggers our vulnerability. It triggers everything that we had to process, we had to face, we had to accumulate emotionally in the past. And Mars is the god of war basically, and the ancients saw Mars as the lower malefic, malefic meaning that it doesn't bring any good vibes. And when it touches another planet like this and it forms a hard aspect with another planet, in our case the sun, our identity, our ego, our sense of self, well, energies and feelings and whatever is gonna happen is not gonna be the most pleasant energy. So it can trigger our self-victimizations. And as I said earlier, it doesn't even have to make sense. It doesn't even have to have a very specific reason. Yes, for some people it does have a specific reason, like traumas from the past and things that we are really struggling to process. But for other people, it is just a mood. It is just basically illogical, but it still happens. The feeling is so very, very real. And of course, whatever is taking place on the world stage around us is affecting us. It doesn't matter how much we try to detach, but the fear, the anger, the worry, the chaos is still there, and we're sponges, especially during a time like this. So for some people, this is playing out as a very intense, very twisted kind of depression, where it's almost like we're surrounded by fog, and that fog is weighing heavily down on us. We simply cannot breathe, emotionally, psychologically. It doesn't even matter from which sense, it's just affecting us. While for other people, it is not as vengeful, it is not as bad, but it's basically like confusion from every single perspective, but mostly emotionally, even spiritually, even karmically. Now, how can we be confused karmically? Well, it's simple. We just cannot decide if we are on the right path, where all of this is leading us, if we are making the right choices, or if our intuition, our guidance, our inner voice is fear, or if it's authentic. And that is exactly why the Seven of Cups is reversed, because we simply don't know if we're making the right choices. We don't know if whatever we perceive is authentic or if it's just the trick of the mind. Like, let me give you an example. The Seven of Cups might have to do with other people in your life, and this is where you don't know if detachment or being, more connected than ever is the right idea, is the right option for you. This is where you long for peace, you long for quiet, but at the same time you feel ready for action, and and the two feelings, the two guidances, if we can call it that way, are a paradox, basically, a dichotomy. You cannot do both at the same time, and you cannot decide. And this Ace of Swords, the card of the mind, of communication, even epiphany, even divine guidance, is also reversed. So you might get a lot of everything: guidance, communication, you know, information. You're also trying very hard to figure everything out, and it is working because you have all these right ideas, all these epiphanies, all these moments of brilliance, and still they don't help you. You don't find it useful whatsoever because of that very powerful inner confusion that you don't know what to choose. You don't know what the right path is, and not because you made any kind of mistake, but because everything feels so very stuck now. You might be feeling that no matter what you do, it's still not gonna mobilize anything, and you'll just stay in the same situation. And to make things even worse, the Three of Swords is reversed. So, an upright position, that might represent a very profound heartache, where everyone in your life basically is disappointing you one way or another. But since it's reversed, the disappointment factor is not actually there, because you kind of know that everyone is in a very difficult situation just like you, so you don't even have any expectation, but still you're disconnected, still you don't know what to make of other people's reactions. You want to help them, but you also need help yourself. You don't know if sharing your problem is a good idea or if it's just adding to everyone else's, psychological oppression. And since all these cards are reversed, that also means that, you don't know what to do in the present, but the past also comes back. Maybe nostalgia, maybe memories, maybe feelings, maybe things that really, really had a massive, profound emotional impact on you. And even the past isn't that clear because you don't know how you feel towards it. You don't know how to process all of these, influences. Because I think the best word to use is influence, because it's both on the outside, on the inside, and basically it's in all dimension of the mind. Doesn't matter where we focus on, what we focus on, where we navigate towards mentally, this uncertainty, this confusion is omnipresent everywhere. And it's not even the kind of confusion where we don't possess the information and we're seeking the truth. This is where we have almost everything that we need and it still doesn't make sense. And this is the big frustrating factor. This is that Mars meeting Neptune, that we're so very empowered to see the truth, but is there anything to see? Because, if we strip down everything to its core, well, everything in life, in existence, spiritually, materially, in real life, in our fantasies, everything is basically an illusion. Everything can be perceived in so very many different ways. So the more empowered we are in the present moment, the more we suffer. And this is the irony of everything, because the stronger you are, the more motivated you are, the more you know, the more you have researched, the more education you have, the more clearly you see everything, the worse off you are, because it somehow forces you to process. But can you actually process anything right now? But this is exactly where the divine guidance comes in. And as I said earlier, this Seven of Cups and all these reverse cards play out as different feelings for different people. For some, it's just an unexplainable depression. For others, it's heavy fatigue, emotional fatigue. For others, it's like emotional starvation, because they just need nurturing, they just need care, even if that care, even if that, support comes from themselves, but they just cannot give it to themselves right now. They're feeling that stuck. Other people are challenged in their relationships, communication isn't going too well, or it's always open to misinterpretation, or it's not getting anywhere. And of course, some people are in spiritual crisis, where they just cannot see the light of the end of the tunnel, no matter how hard they try, no matter how much they meditate, no matter how much they absorb divine guidance, because what they ask comes without fail, but it just doesn't help. While for others still, this is basically like a big, massive worry that there is no future, that there is no stability. What are they gonna do? And that Ace of Swords can represent documents, papers, legal issues, administration, finances, but the communication part, the paperwork part, which is just stuck and there's no solution for the future. And if you, for example, if you have a business or something like that, well, then you're in a lot of trouble, emotionally, of course, because time will sort everything out, but what are you gonna do right now? Because your worries are founded, they're not illusions, they're like oppressive matters, and if there's no solution, you don't have the, training, the strength, the discipline of a Buddhist monk, for example, to be Zen, to be very free. So this is where all of us are in this together, but in different dimension of confusion or of depression or helplessness. But this is where that Five of Coins and Knight of Swords that closes the reading is divine guidance, and it tells us that the divine and everything, all our guides, our higher self, whatever you believe in, knows how difficult this is, and it knows that information is basically blocked. It's not the flow of information that is blocked, it is our ability to process it, but this isn't actually a negative thing, no matter how negatively we live it. The main theme of everything is for us not to be able to process it, for our minds not to be able to create scenarios. So basically, sometimes a profound quantum perspective or a parapsychological perspective, if we can call it that way, not knowing your truth, not being perfectly aligned with your knowledge, actually being able to ground yourself in your inner truth, in your faith, in all your skills and abilities. It doesn't matter if it's sixth sense or if it's very down to earth thing like tactics, like calculation, a mathematical mind. It doesn't matter, because this right now is actually a positive thing. Of course, not emotionally, but this is where we have absolutely no control, and that is the positive element, because everything can fall together in a way which we cannot corrupt, which our fears cannot influence, where our, ambition, determination, the strength of our egos cannot infuse anything that we are creating with my way or the highway. And this is exactly why all of us are feeling this way. But whatever is coming, the Five of Cups, is reversed. So we are definitely not gonna be disappointed. It will definitely surpass all of our expectations. And more importantly, it's definitely not gonna be the same way as our pasts unfolded, especially moments of crisis, where, yes, of course, we were okay in the end, but this is where our critical minds, our inner critics, cannot actually say that everything was more than okay, that everything was actually ideal, because it wasn't. In the past, we basically just got out of the crisis and somehow managed to return to a certain state of normality, but which wasn't actually what we wanted. We just couldn't see the higher meaning of everything. We just were grateful and thankful that we got out of the crisis, and that's it. But this time it is definitely gonna be different, because we are not just getting out of our personal crisis, but we are heading towards a different future where everything can make much more sense and nothing is gonna disappoint us, because our expectations were already erased. We are not setting unhealthy standards, we're not asking anything which is way out our leagues. We're not asking for luxury or infinite abundance or prosperity. We're just asking to be okay and be at peace. And that is exactly why this, inner state of ours, asking for simplicity, is the biggest blessing that we can actually be working with, because it's not gonna disappoint us. That is exactly why bigger things and much bigger changes are coming in our lives, because we are not asking obsessively for it. Of course, we are asking for it because we need it, but as a basic need and not as obsession, not our way or the highway, not setting conditions, and basically not even playing mind games with the divine, because so many times we do that and we don't even see ourselves do it. This is where we make pacts with the divine, where we make compromises, where we threaten, where we, victimize ourselves. And that never delights the universe, because it just shows it how immature we are. So basically, this is where, because we were truthful and honest with ourselves, and we're facing this, and we're not demanding anything, well, that is exactly why the universe is gonna mirror our attitudes and give us much more than we have asked for. This is where this pivotal moment is so very significant, because the past is not gonna repeat. The past cycles, from one perspective, that we are exiting this crisis, that is guaranteed. But the level of satisfaction and the level of us being able to live life the way we want to, now that part is gonna be so very different, because that is the main focus of everything. That is why all of this inner or outer or collective or whatever crisis is happening, so that it can somehow guide us to be much more alive. Because let's face it, in our past lives, as 3 months ago, 4 months ago, the way we used to live in the old paradigm, we were anything but alive. Maybe our minds were alive, maybe our hearts at times, our emotions, but not in the most positive way. And this is exactly what's changing. And that Knight of Swords is a very positive sign, because it tells you that communication is going to be reaching you either today or in the next couple of days, which is going to comfort you, which is going to give you hope, and which is going to reveal to you where all of this is heading, where all of this is taking you, how you're going to actually exit this moment of crisis. And this can play out in a number of different ways. This can be someone reaching out to you and somehow giving you hope, even indirectly, or you can interpret the words and communication of someone and see the divine guidance in it, as in maybe the divine is gonna speak to you through someone else's words, even if they're not actually aware of it. Or this is where some actual help or promise of help, communication from authorities, job, profession, old acquaintances, family, someone is going to offer you hope, but in a way that is not very direct. It is not very straightforward, but you're definitely gonna get the message, and that is gonna give you hope, that is gonna give you power, and that is gonna give you the clarity of mind that you need to just hold on without needing like very sophisticated answers. You will just know that you need to be patient and somehow sit this one out, and that it won't even take that long of a time for changes and of course turn of events to enter your life. But most importantly, this psychological trap, drowning, suffocation is gonna end. And basically, the sooner we kind of realize that many times in life it's perfectly okay not to be okay, well, the sooner we end it for ourselves. Well, thank you so much for listening. And please remember, you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are a sovereign being and you have control over anything. So if during these very difficult couple of days you're feeling that much stuck that you just don't know what to do, remember, you can reach out, because there's always, always help out there one way or another. When you ask the universe to just send you an advice or help or a comforting or soothing word, well, there is help out there. The internet is infinitely vast. And of course, the internet is just one potential source. There's so many others. So know that there's always help out there. Even if someone just listens to your story, even if just someone takes in what you're ever living through, perceiving, and says, it's gonna be okay, stay hopeful, stay faithful. When another being, when another living, breathing entity delivers this message to you, it always helps, because they charge it with the power of their own existence. So it is like the divine is delivering this to you through another person. But even if you're not the type of person who can reach out and, communicate, you can do this for yourself, because you have sovereignty over your thoughts and emotions. Especially during a time like this one, you cannot allow it to suffocate you, to drown you, to disable you totally. If you're confused, well, that's absolutely fine. It's part of life. It's part of earthly existence. If you're unsure of what choices, decisions, or options you want to make, well, then that's also absolutely fine, because, you're not at for example, the Pentagon and having to decide to press the red button or not. So basically, can you go that wrong? Can your decisions, have that much of a negative effect regardless what you choose? As long as you're aware, rational, logical, and emotionally intelligent, which I'm 1,000,000% sure that you are, because otherwise you wouldn't be listening to this. Well, is there such a thing as a bad choice? Or is there only a thing as you choose, and then, reality and the universe and your own destiny basically adapts itself to whatever you chose? As long as you have love in your heart, good intent, well, you cannot go that wrong. I know that they say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but there's always a way back, so you cannot make a huge mistake, especially if you're emotionally intelligent, because your intuition will tell you that it's not right. You are simply going to be feeling it in your gut before you make a very bad choice. And if you don't feel anything in your gut, if there's no intuition, well, that means it doesn't matter whatsoever what you choose. So don't dwell on it, and don't let procrastination, don't let not having stable goals and purposes, bring you down right now, because why should you have? The world basically stopped revolving, symbolically of course, but this is where no one has any clear goals anymore. So you're not the only one, it is absolutely fine. So please remember to stay strong, and if this is depressing you, if this is taking away all your power, you can fight it. And you can fight it with wisdom and of course your life experience, because you've been through worse and you're still here. So this is definitely not gonna stop you. And also, if the problem is that, you feel like a failure, you feel like you didn't make any progress, you feel like you haven't done anything with your life, well then, who does right now? Who is successful right now? We're in this together, so basically, maybe certain people who can take pride that they have accomplished whatever, well, in this moment of time, their accomplishments means absolutely nothing. So basically, we're all in the same boat. We're all failures as a species in this second in time, in this present karmic moment. So you're not really different from anyone else. Maybe this was different in the past, where the contradiction between your success or whatever and those of others was a little bit more, nuanced. But in the present moment, well, is there such a thing as success? Is there such a thing as progress? If anything, this is a big blessing that no one is better off than the other person, really, at least in the long run. So why even compare? Don't let these feelings, this, trick of the mind, this inner chaos, fill you with doubts, with fears, with anxiety and insecurity, because it really doesn't matter right now. Not the past and not even the present as much, because we're just basically stuck, all of us. And to be very honest, not even the future, because we have no idea how we are gonna solve this collectively. So why should we even have an idea how we're gonna solve this individually? Whatever is gonna happen, we are gonna happen, and we were prepared. And if the biggest problem or the biggest worry is, well, that, so much has happened and still the world isn't changed, still people are the same, don't worry, because it's coming. Don't you worry about that. If anything, it's written in the stars, and there's no escape from this change. No one is gonna escape unchanged, that is 100%. So if anything, please take comfort in this. Please take comfort in your own non-linear type of faith, that you don't need to have the answers to anything, because you just know that it's gonna be okay. And since that okay is expectation free and very realistic, well, that is a big blessing in itself. So don't allow your mind to trouble you and exhaust you and, destroy your state of spirit that much. Even in this present moment, it's very, very hard to do this. It's very, very hard to resist because of that very potent and not so kind Neptune. Thank you again. Please be safe and don't let this get to you. Until next time, bye for now.